the heaviest riff of all time. This is big.
This is a hot take. The heaviest, I gotta come up with the heaviest riff of all time right now.
Oh, you can't do that to me, man.
That's such a hard question.
It's a pretty hard one.
It's a really hard question.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Probably Sabbath, because that's like what I learned heavy music through was Sabbath. You know, I don't know.
I've also heard you say Sad But True live.
Sad But True is an extreme, like, in terms of power versus execution versus reach in the audience.
Isaac.
Sad But True.
Oh.
A close second to our song, Isaac.
Man, I really like the title track of Dehumanized, Prophecies Foretold. That was a ripping one. A lot of guys probably don't know about that, but either that or anything from Deicide's Once Upon the Cross, Trick or Betrayed, that's heavy.
Something out of Crowbar's Oddfellow Rest, something. I think that, to me, that album is super heavy.
I think technically, like, the heaviest thing that I've ever heard would be just the opening riff from Bleed by Meshuggah. The thing that makes it so heavy to me isn't just how fast the double kick is and how low the guitar is. It's also the way that the riff speeds up and slows down when they're bending it. So the way that like the double kick is interfering with the guitar, it's like my husband's he's the guitar player in my band. He'd kill me if he heard how bad I did that. But that song has no business being over 2 minutes long. No human can do that for more than 2 minutes. And theirs is like, it's like 7 minutes of that. Just annihilation. I think that's the heaviest riff ever. But I'm sure I'm missing a Pantera riff or two.
It's weird because I'm trying to come up with something that's like a little less obvious or cool. I don't know. Sad But True is a badass riff.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a deep cut.
No.
Go with your gut.
Sad But True, the Quebec Stadium in 2015.
Everything that Whitechapel do, I would say.
Whitechapel, yeah.
Whitechapel, I mean the heaviest.
You know, I'm an old schooler, but I have to go with
Sad But True.
Sad But True.
Yeah, that's a heavy one. Yeah.
You know, hearing that riff still like, what is it, 30 years later, still like the best riff you can write.
If Lars pulls it off.
The riff in Metalingus by Alter Bridge. Yeah, that's really heavy. The opening riff.
I have to give it to that also. That's one of my favorite songs of all time.
Even though Metalingus isn't a metal band, but that riff is just, it's the heaviest riff ever. You just fight me, you know.
I will with this answer. Lateness has to be hands down for me.
I'll fight you.
I gotta say, Korn's Blind. Like, remember hearing like dun. There's something about that riff, that record. It's heavy because I'm a rhythm guitar player. There's a darkness to like a rhythm guitar player to really have the riffs feel that way and sound that way. So there's something about that riff that's like the darkness. And then you see it live, it's like, oh. Again, Korn's the heaviest live band of all time to me. I mean, and when they play Blind, that riff, it's just like, come on, you know, come on.
All I can think of is Meshuggah Rational Gaze right now.
Yeah, yeah. I saw Meshuggah when I was living in Atlanta, and I hadn't moshed for like 5 years. The time before that I had moshed was when I saw Limp Bizkit play Break Stuff. But I was in Atlanta, and Meshuggah started playing that song, and I was like, oh my God, honey, hold my beer. And she's like, where are you going? I'm like, watch this. I go and run into the pit. I don't even know what happened. I got real fucked up. And then the next day I would like bruises all over and everything, but worth it.
There's so many. I mean, we're probably gonna have to go back with like Rain and Blood or something.
I mean, that's probably there. I think maybe one of the most recognizable would be Cowboys from Hell. Is such a heavy riff, especially when it kicks in. But even like if we're talking like outside of that subgenre, I love the riff in Check My Brain by Alice Chains.
Yes.
I think that
the finger of God.
I mean, Jerry is so famous for those sludgy, heavy, weighty riffs. I think we gravitate more towards like those riffs that are just like heavy and weighty rather than really flashy, right?
Well, the great thing about that riff in particular is that it moves your body physically. Like if you're listening to it, you're like, am I stoned right now?
What about Enter Sandman though? Like that is I mean,
Or Sad But True versus Enter Sandman.
Oh, Joe. Okay, as far as like heavy, weighty, and like aggressive, maybe Sad But True, yeah. That is like one of the heaviest riffs of all time, yeah.
Too many heavy riffs.
Actually, I will say the heaviest and catchiest riff of all time is probably Iron Man. If you think about it, like, like, dude, that riff for its time was probably the heaviest. The fucking, like, I gotta say, it's a timeless heavy riff.
I didn't come out
heavy.
of Mosh Retirement though when I heard that.
Yeah.
It's got to be something with only one note because I love a fucking one
Ivy
note
Lab
breakdown.
Orange.
Huh?
Ivy Lab Orange.
Yes.
I think some of the heaviest shit probably comes from dance because the guitars and the bass, they do things together in a heavy riff. That's great. But with a synth, you can kind of define what spectrum of frequencies you want to like physically abuse that day. And there's an artist called Ivy Lab's the artist, right?
Ivy Lab, yeah.
There's an artist called Ivy Lab, got a song called Orange, and when it drops, it's very simple, but very like, you have to do that face when you listen to it. That's my recommendation. There's a lot of electronic and like DJ bass shit that I think has the same components and attitude as metal, but he's probably a bit heavier, just because less going on means heavier shit. Less is always more.
No, I'll help Karan fight you. I actually really do agree with that.
No.
I was gonna say a kill switch
You
song.
just said you're not well versed now.
No, but I wanted to say it's just like the heaviest verse. You think it can be anything, right? But
I think it would be.
I was gonna say something kill switch, but
late to this because also like that riff we have heard all over Delhi. Every band was playing late to this. Every metal band.
Yeah,
and then
Lamb of God has a huge following in India.
Like a huge one.
I gotta go with the Gojira riff, and it'll probably be like heaviest matter of the universe. Like something about that song, just the whole thing. It's just, it's just that or Where Dragons Dwell. The riff in that song goes hard, dude. It's super heavy, so I go with those two. One of those two.
Enter Sandman.
Enter Sandman.
Sometimes it's not the riff. Sometimes it's like.
That's true. Sometimes it's the feel. It's not the riff. Yeah.
I was actually thinking Gojira too. Flying Whales.
Flying Whales is
Yeah,
good.
especially when that
Maybe the breakdown on Laid to Rest comes in super heavy, especially live.
That's like the hardest question of all time.
No. There's a good one. Domination, Pantera.
Yeah.
The final breakdown.
That's
fucking.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like Propaganda by Sepultura. Yeah, ending breakdown. Yeah.
I don't know. This is like
Domination.
Oh, I know. What? The beginning of Flying Whale is when it just goes into dan and dan. That is the sickest riff. Oh, I love that riff. Yeah, and then it just goes so hard.
I mean, there's so many different ways you can go with it. Because you can look at a band like Whitechapel or Thyroid's Murder, and then you can look at like Suicide Silence, and then you can also have heavy as in like Lamb of God's. Lamb of God's ripping is my favorite ripping of all time. They're my favorite band of all time. I love that band more than anything in the world. I mean, the Redneck riff is pretty hard. That's a good one. I mean, 11th Hour is a good riff. Literally anything that Lamb of God writes ripping-wise is probably my favorite. So I'm gonna stick with, I'm just gonna say Lamb of God as a whole.
What I really love is Redneck by Lamb of God. I love that riff. I just think it's so much fun and just so heavy. I'm gonna go with that one.
I mean, yeah, you kind
I jumped into the void. Like you can't. It's
jumped
like
the gun.
well, we're on this Black Sabbath kick now. I mean, he was trying to get all philosophical about. We talked about this at some point, and he was trying to get all philosophical. But I mean, that intro riff on Into the Void. I don't know how you beat it. It's just so laid back. It's just like, yeah.
Into the Void. That's a good one.
I feel like it's not even going to be the heaviest riff. It's just something that like everyone knows. Like I'd say probably like one of Ramsey's biggest songs that like everyone just, because it's so simplistic. It's not even the fact that it's heavy. Like Walk by Pantera is heavy. Sick. All those riffs from fucking Slipknot, heavy. You know, anything off these albums, but it's just more of like, it comes on, like Blind by Korn, like it just comes in where you're like, oh my God, what is, it's just, you're foaming at the mouth. You're like, this is disgusting. That's more of the feeling that I would go for than just like the heaviest riff. Because if not, the heaviest riff is probably fucking double pick the shit out of and speed metal. That's technically the heaviest riff. But I want the feel of it, the crowd just, I mean, I just watched that Woodstock documentary on Netflix with Korn, and they're playing, they open up with Blind, and everybody is just like, the second it comes in, the whole crowd, it's just disgusting. It's just a sea of people.
Jeez, Revolver. Fuck.
the heaviest riff of all time. I got something that came into my head. It jumped into my head. It stage dove into my head. Fucking Bleed. Meshuggah, I just saw them. Maybe they're fresh on my head. I saw them last night destroy Louder Than Life. And so I have them in my heart and my brain right now. But heavy fucking riff. I mean, wait. Oh, I'm gonna go with the breakdown in Dead Embryonic Cells from Sepultura. That fucking part right there, dude. Get out of here. That middle section, and then I go to fucking Walk. I mean, it's not the heaviest one, but it's one of the most iconic ones, so I don't know, I'm confused.
You're gonna be standing there, there's 100,000 people, and the riff that comes on, what's the thing that's gonna get you going?
I'd have to say AC/DC's TNT live at Donington.
See, yeah, I mean, that's pretty bloody heavy. When AC/DC kick into Let There Be Rock, now that is heavy.
What's that song where James Hetfield's going?
That's at the start of the Cunning Stunts DVD, which was renamed to Stunning Cunts.
Okay, yep.
But that's the... You boring little fuck. It's not... It's like... I fucked it, go. It's like something. It's that one. That's pretty heavy too. No, you know what? Fuel's pretty fucking heavy. Fuel's heavy. Master of Puppets is heavy. I mean,
that's a hard
The entire Metallica discography is heavy. It's the heaviest riffs of all time.
There we go.
Except for the Lulu thing, that's a bit weird. Not so much heaviness there.